Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and today we're reviewing for you Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered on the Nintendo Switch. This review was originally written by the lovely Ken Talbot and has been adapted for video by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. The blood-soaked jewels in the crown of a storied cult franchise, Soul Reaver and its sequel were praised on release for original gameplay and stellar visuals. Gorgeous gothic fantasies, co-written and directed by industry luminary Amy Hennig, they follow the exploits of vampire lord Kain's fallen lieutenant, Raziel. These games are easily the strongest entries in the series that would span 2 decades, before sadly ending with 2018's ill-fated online PvP title, Nosgoth. Now the corpse is pulled from the Lake of the Dead and granted new life thanks to a faithful clutch of remasters from Aspyr, who also developed the great Tomb Raider 1-3 Remastered. The centerpiece of the Legacy of Kain story cycle, Soul Reaver, follows Raziel's journey of revenge. A tragic figure, Raz was once a pious nobleman turned to an undead warrior by Kain. Making the mistake of surpassing his lord's abilities, Raziel is betrayed and cast into the abyss. After a lovely long nap in oblivion, he is resurrected as a desiccated shadow of his former self. With one foot in the spirit realm, he embarks on a quest to destroy Kain because he was a nasty man. In the first game, Raziel finds himself lost in a bleak apocalypse in which Kain rules over all. There, he must track down and kill his fellow lieutenants while getting to grips with his newfound abilities. Soul Reaver 2, on the other hand, continues the pursuit of his former master, this time in a restored era of Nosgoth. The sequel also built upon the series' lore significantly, delving into Raziel's past as a Sarafan demon hunter. Both titles are semi-open world puzzle adventures where you battle through an enemy-infested landscape. Raziel fights his former vampire brethren as well as humans determined to eradicate his kind. The gameplay also features puzzles to solve and light platforming elements. And admittedly, there's nothing too taxing here, but then pushing blocks and hitting switches, that was basically all we had back in 1999. Stripped of his vampiric thirst and abilities, our hero must combat the undead hordes with claws, fire, and sharp implements. Melee combat incorporates basic attacks to weaken enemies, with a slightly clunky lock-on to focus down groups of attackers. With the first game being set in an apocalyptic wasteland of bloodsuckers, enemies need a little more persuasion before they are fully destroyed. Weapons scattered around the environment can be used to impale vamps, whilst conveniently placed spikes are mounted on walls, ready for you to throw a dazed monster at them and hopefully sticking it in them. Fire is also a useful weapon, as are the shafts of sunlight dotted around levels and big pools of water. Later in the first game and into the second, Raziel would unlock more offensive abilities along his journey. New combat and traversal options will open up through progression, chief among them the powerful Spectral Blade, conveniently named Soul Reaver. There's a Metroidvania aspect to the ability system, with each defeated boss granting you a new way to fight or explore. The sheer variety of attack options was astonishing in the original release. The first game came out only a year after Ocarina of Time for context, and it still makes for a fun experience today. Lobbing enemies onto wall spikes is particularly satisfying. There is much more focus on bare bones combat in the sequel, with weapon-wielding enemies thrown at you early and often. The need to weaken enemies before finding other means to destroy them is also less of a necessity in Soul Reaver 2. Exploration is fairly linear, with some backtracking and divergent paths to get to collectibles, but the neat thing about Soul Reaver is that every area has a spectral double. Raziel's raison d'etre is his ability to shift between the material plane and the spirit realm. This shifting mechanic forms the backbone of both titles' puzzle elements, and the way forward often requires finding paths in one realm and continuing forward in another. You shift back and forth at fixed points, so there's an element of memory involved in negotiating inter-reality pathways. Raziel's health coil gradually depletes whilst he remains in the material plane, making regular visits to the spectral realm absolutely essential for progress. Enemies in both realms can have their souls devoured by Raz to replenish his health, which ultimately means dying rarely becomes a concern, and you've even got the option to upgrade your health. The process of shifting between world still feels great after all these years. Watching the environment expand and distort during the transition remains a unique and captivating effect. The world of Nosgoth is an intoxicating mix of traditional vampire tropes, medieval fantasy, and cosmic horror, why not? There are many reasons this series is so well respected, so any kind of re-release has to meet those expectations. The remastered visuals have preserved everything about the characters and environments from 1999 and 2001. Models have been cleaned up and tweaked ever so slightly, but they aren't significantly altered. And if you don't like it, a click of the right stick will seamlessly swap between old and new visuals, which really highlights all the hard work put in here. Both games are accessible for modern audiences and will easily meet the nostalgic expectations of series veterans. The smooth performance, coupled with configurable camera sensitivity, gives the movement and combat a refreshing sense of speed. Additionally, controller remapping is a welcome addition, and there's also a photo mode if you want to capture Nosgoth at every single angle. There are some notable visual bugs in the pre-launch version we played, however. Texture pop-in and even some geometry pop-in was a little bit more common than we would have liked. Other than that, both games are clean and well presented. Audio is sharp, those stellar vocal performances from Michael Bell and Simon Templeman sound great coming out of any size of speaker. The persistent musical score can be a bit jarring, but the compositions, particularly those in Soul Reaver 2, still sound great to this day. To top it off, this bundle includes a wealth of bonus material. Fully playable cut content and goofy behind-the-scenes outtakes are the most generous extras and the sort of stuff that we just love to see. Lore materials offer a bittersweet bonus, allowing you to explore the rich world of Nosgoth and lamenting its passing. Elsewhere, you'll find making-of materials, fan art, and even cosplay snaps. It's a truly heartfelt package. Legacy of Kain's Soul Reaver 1 and 2 are just as enjoyable and atmospheric as they were 2 decades ago. This remaster treatment faithfully cleans up the visuals, adds some quality of life improvement, and stuffs the package with bonus materials, presenting the games at their best, notwithstanding some minor visual bugs. Here's hoping the success of this collection sparks interest in a brand new return to Nosgoth. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2, you're getting an 8 out of 10 from us. You've reached the end of the review. That means it's time for Alex's personal thoughts, and I really like this collection. But I must admit, I do... Okay, I haven't played masses of either game. I've played more of the first one, but I must say I vastly prefer the first one. The second one feels a lot more straight-laced, straightforward. It's just running around hacking, slashing, and, you know, that's fine, don't get me wrong, but... The original had such an interesting idea where you couldn't actually kill opponents through, like, typical means. You could just, like, sort of bash them around a bit, stun them, and then you had to use your environment or, like, a weapon nearby. It forced you to really think about things and think about your surroundings, and at least what I played of the second one so far, I'm just not getting that, and it is a disappointment. I still like it, and I don't want to pass too much judgment because, as I say, I haven't played loads of it by any means, but it can't be denied that the first one definitely feels like the more unique experience, you know? One thing that I do absolutely love about this collection, though, is the bonus stuff, and I always like bonus stuff, don't get me wrong, but this really goes the extra mile with actual, like, playable levels, like scrapped levels. It's fantastic, and some of them are absolutely broken, and like some of them don't even render properly, but I don't care, you know, just throw this stuff in. It's so interesting to see what was cut, what changed, and things like that. This is the kind of thing I live for, just to be able to muck around and see something that before now only the developers and maybe some of the publishers ever saw. That is so special and so exciting, and I really wish more games would do it.